We are back. It's been a month and a half, and these two books made Greg so sick he couldn't podcast.
Couldn't podcast. I was down for the count. Flex Mentallo, he took me out, just like ba-boom.
If you look at my background, you can see that these books made me hate comic books so much that the spinner rack is now empty.
He took them all out, threw them all away, burned them in the backyard. Bonfire.
It's true. I mean, it's like I just like, you know what? Let's just get started right away on this. I cannot imagine a world. So I read this month when I was doing my comic book ordering.
Yeah.
That this book is being reprinted in a trade.
Oh my gosh, awesome. Buy it. Put it on like
buy it to light it on fire. I don't recommend book burning, but I do think it is good like material to start fires.
You know,
though comic book pages generally aren't, because the color burns weird and the paper burns weird, so I don't think it's a good idea.
I think, I mean, if somebody wants something interesting, unique, and different to read, this is a book for them.
This is not a book for me.
I find it humorous because you're the one that picked it.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
You wanted something light to read, and you grabbed something heavy. It was the rye bread of breads.
Well, I thought, based off the original storyline in Doom Patrol, it might make some semblance of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it does tie back to his original creator, the Sage person, whatever. It, like, this book is so bad. It made us not, like, I just want all the listeners to know that I told Greg we were just going to move on to Jimmy Olsen. Now, I don't have the physical copy of 133, but we can read it on the DC app. But I recently picked up I recently picked up the 4th and 5th Jack Kirby issues of Jimmy Olsen.
Very nice.
And so we're going to read some Jack Kirby, Jimmy Olsen. Why can't we just stop right now and do this instead?
Because we owe it to the listeners, that we finish this epic task that you put before us to flex our Mentallos.
I don't agree. Like,
I do.
I have all of these comics that are good. I could be reading Absolute Batman.
Dan, I think it's a good book. I could
be reading One Nation, this Kickstarter book I got. I could be reading these books that are in Dutch.
I think the story is good. It's just that
I could read a book that our friend Randy Emberlin worked on right here.
Yeah. I think
there's a lot of things I could be doing.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what you get caught up in is because you're a comic book historian and this drops so much stuff in it that you're constantly like getting angry at the use
I hate this.
I know you're getting angry at the use of things that are not real in the book, and then also just that it's so heavy with it's so referential that you want to dig so deep into the stuff that is based on.
I will get to rip mine open maybe because I don't have, but we can just read the Jimmy Olsen book straight from your Jack Kirby omnibus that you also own.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, why are we doing this again?
Because we are completionist. We are going to
complete this. You are today. I am not. This is terrible. I don't want to. I'm leaving it.
This is why people listen, just because this is just like an epic road trip that Dan and I would have when we were younger.
I would rather read The Simpsons Treehouse of Terror right now.
He would rather. That's a good book too. I would also opt for that at another time after we finish Flex.
Here, I'm gonna grab a $1 book just from over here.
Yeah,
that I picked up. Let's see. Here's one from SummerCon of last year, still sitting here.
Still sitting there. You haven't read it yet.
Stupid comics I have. Let's go. Oh, look! On accident. This was totally on accident. Look.
Dark Side.
It's John Byrne, my favorite author of all time, writing Jack Kirby's characters.
How could you not win?
That was sarcasm if you don't listen to the podcast. But this is look, doesn't that look infinitely more interesting than what we're doing? Let me entice you with this.
I mean, if you could see it, if you're just listening and you're not watching the YouTube,
Oh,
then
I was showing you a big giant dark side head,
yes, um,
not
it
dark seed.
Dark Seed. It's that's something
Well,
different.
some people think it's supposed to be dark seed.
I
It does
I
kind
get
of
that.
make more sense if it is.
I get that all the time whenever people look through the DC action figures and I hear somebody refer to Darkseid as Dark Seed.
Yeah, but we heard on the cartoon that Jack Kirby worked on the Superpowers cartoon, so we heard
Mhm.
it said.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't know. We would be saying dark seed too.
It's Dark Seed. Yes. I mean, phonetically, when you read it, and if you learn phonetically, then yes, you're correct.
It's also really interesting that like Jack Kirby put his characters on like a children's cartoon because like Desaad like tortured and murdered people. And then on the cartoon, he's like the mustache twirling, ha ha ha, dark side, we got him, ha ha.
Ah.
It's just like that cut of that cartoon, the fake commercial for the Watchmen '80s cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen that. It's funny.
In a minute.
Yeah, I literally want to welcome back listeners. We're covering Flex Mentallo 3 and probably 4 because I don't want to talk about it anymore.
It took a while. It took a while. I apologize for being sick. I mean, I got the crud. It took me out. That's really what happened. I got the crud. It took me out for like literally January, February. I'm still, if you heard the cough earlier, I got the cough. I can't hit the mute button fast enough. Um, it it is. Ooh, let me tell you, fun, fun.
Well, I think Greg is back and I think part of what makes me ill about this book
Yeah.
the cover's kind of cool. It's like got a Dark Knight Returns cover.
Oh yeah.
I hate Dark Knight Returns.
Why?
Well, so let's go on this journey. You know what? I think it's better for us to sort of tell our comic book stories while Grant Morrison tells their comic book story here
Yeah.
because I think ours are more interesting, quite frankly.
Okay.
And uh not than Grant Morrison's life story, very different. I would rather hear their story than our story, right? But I mean,
Right.
as it's told in this book. And like
Yeah.
so why do I hate Dark Knight Returns? I've really tried to love Dark Knight Returns. Like I've read it a couple times, right?
Yeah.
It's an okay story. I mean, obviously Frank Miller's Daredevil stuff was supposedly really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes over to DC and does Dark Knight Returns, right? So
Yeah.
it's the problem with this is I was a naive when Dark Knight Returns came out. Was that 88?
I believe so. 88, 89, somewhere in there.
Let's verify this for a second.
Okay.
So and I get what Grant Morrison what they're doing here. It does make sense, right? They're referencing this darker age of comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of poking fun at it. So I do appreciate that in the book. It's just done in such an incomprehensible way. Of course, when I look up Dark Knight Returns, I get the stupid ass movie. So hold up.
It's not a stupid movie, dude. We went and saw it like literally right after I got married.
Actually 86.
Like went from wedding to the movie.
Yeah. So 86. Okay. So in 1986, I was 12.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was a naive 12-year-old, as you were aware, meeting me later, because you didn't meet me when I was 12, but
No, I met
you met
you
me a couple years later, and I
couple
was
years
still
later.
a naive kid. And I was still happily reading my spandex superhero books
Mm-hmm.
and my Legion books specifically. And I was only getting one book a month at that point. I was getting Legion of Superheroes. And then if I scraped together back issue money, I was going to the back issue bins and buying more Legion of Superheroes. But when it comes to these pieces, right? Like we're still 86 is still 2 years after Superpowers, right? So Super Friends are still on the air. I think Superpowers was 84, wasn't it?
I believe. Yeah.
And just kind of looking at it, I hadn't really. I mean, I knew the X-Men were there. I was super excited. I think we've talked about this before. I went to the spinner rack this is before, so this would have been like 85, 86, right in there.
Mhm.
I went to the spinner rack and I picked up Teen Titans, the reprint books. Well, not they weren't the reprint books yet. Yeah, they were the reprint books at that point.
Yeah.
So the reprint Baxter series, Teen Titans. So that would have been 85, right? That's one
Hmm.
year after the publication. So late 85. I picked up West Coast Avengers because I was like, what is this?
Yeah. As
Turned
you
out to
do.
be a smart choice. Uh,
Yeah.
and then I picked up, I was picking up the Legion book. And then I had to start going to the comic shop to get the Legion book. And,
Hmm.
these were all 75 cents. Superpowers was 1984 to 1985. So I'm still watching cartoons at this point
Hmm.
and then transitioning into comics. And I did have some older friends. We have an older friend who I won't name because I don't know if it's okay to name him on the show. Only a couple years older than me, but that did read the darker books.
Hmm.
To give you a hint, he's a large man who sings very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good idea who this older friend is. Uh,
Yeah, and if we introduce him on the podcast, he's extremely political too, so I don't want to say who it is without asking. But
yeah.
I would say, we did have exposure to some of these books. Like I had another friend in high school that had all the X-Men books. You and I have talked about it, not
Hmm.
necessarily on the podcast, but introduced me that in high school. That was
Yeah.
later.
I
So
think
I didn't
that's
get to read all those at the time.
I think that's what flowed me into it after the fact because you guys introduced me into it, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is cool."
But I think like Dark Knight Returns was really written for the people that grew up as Marvel fans, right? And then went over to DC with Frank Miller coming from
Hmm.
Daredevil. And they get this dark, older, broken down Batman, right? And a new story, new
Hmm.
Robin. Also, so interesting, like when that book comes out, like Jason Todd dies 2 years later, right?
Yeah.
So they're introducing Jason Todd at the same time they're introducing this new future Robin. But it's just not, I get it. This book was designed, I think, for the people that grew up with comics. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
My for me comics were later. I was still reading the Legion happily at the time. And
Hmm.
the Legion was getting into darker themes. I mean, as it went on, like even in the Baxter run with the spandex, we're looking at darker stories. The book's going to end. The book ends in 1989.
Right.
So there's still a good 3 year run left. So we're around like the time we're at the end of Crisis, right? With Dark Knight Returns coming in. We're getting like Death of Supergirl, Death of Superboy in the Legion. We're getting the Death of the Flash. There is a lot of change going on in DC. We've reviewed on this podcast the Wonder
Hmm.
Woman books with George Perez that came out of Crisis. Very much a different story. But I get, people say that either it was Watchmen or Dark Knight Returns, right? Is the books that made comic books grow up, right? Like,
Yeah.
whereas Marvel evolved with the readership, but they hadn't quite hit the book that made comic books grow up. We were under the Jim Shooter regime at the time.
Hmm.
Very nice man.
Very nice man. We retract everything we've ever said
No, we do
about Jim.
not retract
We don't.
everything
We
we've
don't
ever said
retract.
about his writing and what he's done.
Okay.
Very nice man. That doesn't.
We.
You can be a very nice man and still write very not interesting comic stories at times.
That's
Like
true. I
I'm sure
suppose.
Grant Morrison, they are a very nice person. I'm sure. I don't know that. I haven't met Grant Morrison, but assumption, very nice person probably. But I don't have to like everything they do,
Fair. Fair.
and I think that's where we're. And Frank Miller, I have no idea if Frank Miller is a very nice person.
I mean, same can go for like anybody out there. It's like I mean, I read yeah no a lot of different stuff, and I'm sure that there's fantastic people out there, but their books might not be for me.
And I went back. I did read Doom Patrol. Like I didn't hate it when but I hate this.
You hate this.
I really do. I hate this. It's just it's not interesting. It's not comprehensible.
How
It
could you
doesn't
say this
flow.
this issue is not interesting? This issue we're about to jump into is
It's
not
not.
interesting.
Well, prove me wrong then. Listeners, read the book and
Yeah,
come
read the
back and
book.
tell me how much of an idiot I am because I don't get it.
Go get that new release of that whole entire compendium and tell us what you think. I mean, I'm not telling you to do it. I mean, I am telling you to do it, but I'm not telling you that
I'm
you
glad
should
I
do
didn't
it.
buy this when it was new because I would have been so angry that I spent $2.50 on this book. And
It's
I would have gotten this when I was in college, so it would have been shipped from the
it.
spider's web,
Yeah,
and I would have gotten it, or not. I think my dad would have picked it up and mailed them to me, but
yeah.
whatever. I would have pre-purchased this, right? And then I would have got it, and I would have been like, "What is this garbage?"
Like literally, this would have been. It would have been the choice of, am I eating packs of ramen this week, or am I having hot dogs with buns and cheese?
Yeah,
It
that's fair.
is a big choice at that time, and damn it, ramen.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
So
we're
good.
here.
We're here.
Oh, and we're in this mini series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God it's only 4 issues. All right, so I'm not going to go through page by page on this. I'm going to do some summaries because just wow. All right, we start out with the man who was the detective, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And he's with his wife. And there are a couple of things I want to highlight. He notes he doesn't believe in superheroes.
Hmm.
There are no superheroes. So they are speaking to like that Dark Knight Returns sort of like angsty, like let's not have superheroes. I mean, comic books are cyclical, right? In the comic industry burnt out superheroes in the late 40s, early 50s, started running Western and crime and horror comics and police comics and different things. Batman and Superman, and, well, not in that order.
Hmm.
Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman survive, right? And we
Hmm.
still have their comics rolling through, but you really, you get the Marvel revival later. You do have some superhero comics, but they're just not. It's not the same, right? They're running these
Right.
other comics, and things go away. Then it's sort of cyclical again too. It's superhero comics are at an all time high in the early '90s, right? But then we have the comic book bust of the '90s because they're just trying. By '96, we're in pretty big trouble with the comic book industry, right? Like they had been releasing issues with millions of issues. All the top art talent had been at Image now for a while. Image burned out the audience really badly with pretty terrible writing in a lot of the books. And I think
Yeah.
we've talked about this many times before, but I just want to give us a time and place here and what's being critiqued, right? So it does make sense. So he's like, I don't believe in superheroes, and I get that. We're sort of trying to say that we're moving thing. He's taking care of his wife, right?
Hmm.
And he's talking about replacing his goldfish named Peter
Hmm.
over and over again. I don't know about you, but I felt like that was an allusion to like them trying to recreate Spider-Man over and over again,
Maybe.
especially at the time because Spider-Man had gone through a lot of changes. You're coming a few years off of Todd McFarlane leaving Spider-Man
Hmm.
and going over to Image, and then our good friend Randy Emberlin got to ink Spider-Man
Hmm.
later on.
Jumps and
So,
changes.
but Carnage, and then of course, is this are I don't know if we're pointing fingers at the spider clones yet right now, but maybe a little bit, like making fun of it,
Just in there. Yeah.
which is fine because that was not a great story either. Uh,
How
so
could you not like the
there's a lot
spider
of ums
clones?
right now.
Dan
Yeah,
doesn't like the
Harry, did
spider
you
clones.
feed Peter? I think maybe, and this lady looks like Aunt May too.
Hmm. She does. She's got an
And it
Ant-Man
even
to
says
her.
I was scared because he looked a little sick a day or two ago, but now he seems fine. She was always in the early Spider-Man talking about Peter being sickly in
Mm.
the early comics. That's very on point. but he's deluding himself and her by just continuing to replace the fish. And it scares me, like, on one level, like, that level of just whether that's his mom or his wife, I can't really tell. But that level of a distrust in a relationship is kind of freaky.
Yeah.
And then we get on, and he says he believes in all but one superhero. They were all gone but one, and we get Flex
Flex.
Mentallo with a trench coat on.
Yeah. In his boots.
You know what would make this even better is if he had like some pockets and extra pockets and
Extra
some
pockets.
pouches and pockets.
You know what though? He doesn't need them
Yeah, you know where he sticks his gear?
in his front pocket or in his back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't have any pockets, Greg.
In his people pocket.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it's possible.
In his people pocket.
Well, we're back to presumably the creator of this universe here, and he's still on his drug-induced coma. Yay.
He's
You have anything
still
to say about these pages?
um no. I mean, they're interesting, but it's just a lot of like it's a lot to unpack.
How about
It
Dead Yet, The
builds
Frighteners?
the Frighteners, the movie The Frighteners.
Yeah,
Oh
because
man,
that's
it's
the
so
ad I'm
good.
looking at right here.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good
Would
movie.
you rather watch that right now? If we stopped right now and we started
Yeah,
watching The Frighteners, would you rather do that than finish reading this book?
it's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
We're now the Frighteners
so let's do
podcast,
that.
everybody. We're gonna go check this movie out if you haven't seen it.
The
Fantastic
Frighteners.
film, The Frighteners. All right, everybody strap in. July 19th. That's right. Coming live to you. The Frighteners.
Yeah, it's Robert Zemeckis and Michael J. Fox's best effort together.
It is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because they did nothing else together.
It's true.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No other good films.
Nothing. No other good
Well,
film.
and another more interesting thing than this comic book, Sam Goody is advertising Beck
Yeah.
and
Good album.
Hayden. This sounds like a create a character WWE tag team in a video game. Hayden and Beck, they're coming to get you.
They're coming to get you. All right, everybody. And over here, we got Hayden and Beck. Odale. Peel out, kids. It's going to get nuts. Yum, yum. Eat 'em
Well,
up.
our detective friend's wife dies of cancer.
Oh,
Awesome.
jeez.
We love that. I'm a big supporter of cancer. In storytelling, it's very good. It's in some of my favorite cancer movies are like Beaches, very good. Yeah. Is that the only cancer movie? Pretty much.
No, there's a few.
Oh, you mean like there's a few? Oh, well, they're all sad and it's not
They're all sad.
fun.
I don't want to go through the whole entire listing and naming of each. So
Oh, okay.
we'll just jump
I was
to the
gonna say
next page.
Deadpool
Yeah.
2, Deadpool 3.
Yeah. There's those.
I mean,
Those are
technically,
not necessarily sad, but
they can be. They're sad when they show like certain scenes.
yeah, that's true. There's some sadness.
Yeah, like when Shatterstar just gets electrocuted.
Oh yeah.
It's not very sad in the movie because you don't know who he is. It's actually
It's
kind
got
of funny.
Couple minutes of
But-
screen time. What, 3 minutes total? Not
Ugh.
even 90 seconds. Is that even 3 minutes?
Yeah, it
A
wasn't
minute and a
much.
half.
No, Shatterstar. Yeah, I mean, it kind of reflects his history in the comics, really.
So much potential.
Well, our detective friend goes to see the hoaxer,
The hoaxer.
and he's like reading a National Geographic magazine, and he uses his hoaxer thing,
To hoax it up.
yeah, and change the landscape. And they talk about cancer. This is fun. I'm having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're having even more fun, I'm sure, as
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the topic. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, that's why I'm like, let me just jump through these pages.
Yeah, that's why I'm covering it for you.
Yeah.
We're moving on. So we get Nanomite and is it Little Miss,
Uh-huh.
and we get our. I read on the internet this guy's name might be Sage, the
Okay.
author guy.
Oh, okay.
And his girlfriend's like yelling at him, and he's talking about going. Okay, here's something I finally relate to.
Mm.
He goes to like a pamphlet bookstore. His dad used to take him to those. Remember that? It's still there. Isn't it like Left Bank Books in Seattle?
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Right on Pike or down. Yeah, it's on
Down.
Pike, right?
Yeah.
Right by the market.
Mm.
Very different scene than when we were growing up, but we used to go in there for debate stuff.
Yeah. It's
And they always had all these pamphlets out front.
pamphlets, all sorts of pamphlets.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of pamphlets they have now. We'll have to go there and check it out.
All sorts of really interesting and strange ones, I'm sure.
I'm sure they're all like focused on one orange guy right now.
Probably.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
they're going to date. Our podcast probably is going to come out like a few days after we record here. But man, I was watching Jon Stewart last night,
Yeah.
and he just eviscerated the efforts of the Democratic Party right now. And then the senator comes on right after he's done
Yeah.
from the Democratic Party and has to like do the interview with him after he just like eviscerated them.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, man, did they not tell this guy what Jon Stewart was going to say before he agreed to come on?
Ugh.
And when I say eviscerated the Democratic Party, we're talking like just eviscerated them for their absolute fecklessness in the budget fight.
And you've only got
I'm using big words today.
when you've only got 4 people making a voice, and they're not actually there, and 2 of them aren't acting members of what's going on. Yeah.
It was well, anyway, our artist here gets in trouble for drawing fleshless people.
Oh my. Yeah.
And he's out sweltering, reading comics, dreaming and drawing. I mean, I don't know why he's so whiny. Like, that sounds awesome. Like, what is his problem?
Mhm.
I would like that.
Yeah.
And then we get another advertisement for the Frighteners.
Again with the Frighteners. They really want
I
you
don't
to see
remember the
this
Frighteners
movie.
being particularly a particularly like financial success for the theater.
I think it was more of an after it hit the theaters with their lenticular VHS covers and its massive play on all the HBOs and Cinemax and everything else. But it was a lot more.
Does the
there.
Frighteners have a more cohesive plot than this story that we're reading?
Yeah. I think so. Guy wants
How
to
about
fix
the
his
other
house
movie
up.
they're advertising here, now on pay-per-view? Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls.
Oof. That's a. I mean, of the. It was on pay per view. It was the more less offensive movie of the two. Of the 2 movie choices of the 2 Ace Ventura movies.
Well, since I would be the one mostly offended by the movie,
Yeah, but I
the
mean,
first one.
yeah, but this was less offensive. Unless you're a rhinoceros.
I don't think I've seen the second one.
Oh, oh my. There is some offensiveness in this movie too. I mean, it's the late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, we get back to our poor, sad
Late 90s.
artist here,
Yeah.
complaining about hot nights and days and nights in jail, drawing Thunder Girl with her breasts hanging out. These are the words of the comic, not my words. Of her top, or Supernova masturbating with the light up end of her solar scepter. Wow. Um, I'm glad we didn't
That's
have to see that drawing.
I'm telling you, man, this is such an interesting comic, Dan.
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really enjoying getting the inner workings of this young adult's mind
You
here.
picked
Is
it. You picked it.
I
It's
mean,
your choice.
look, I mean, I told you we could stop, right? I had a
But
safe word and I used it multiple times and you ignored it.
I y-
Uh
true.
huh.
Uh you're putting it on me like that. Wow. But we're
The more important thing here is basically we're just recounting Adam Hughes' early career in comics,
mm,
or is that
ah,
his current career?
mm, eh, nah,
What
nah.
are you saying? He draws really big,
Oh yeah, no. This is all.
I'm
Yeah.
motioning if you're not on video.
Yeah. He's motioning. Um
And people love his stuff,
well,
and
well
the
endowed
books
women.
go for a lot of money, the old ones.
It's true. But
I think next time you do a kid's book, you should ask
oh
Adam Hughes to draw it.
no. No, no.
Just think of the Adam Hughes version of, you
No.
know,
No.
what?
Just the fact that I have to try to
Don't even
explain to
say.
people, just the fact that when people come up and start asking questions about Starlight, which is about a brother and sister superhero duo, and then they're like, are they ever going to fall in love? And it's like, it's a brother and sister. What is your
No.
malfunction?
Well, also one of them is kind of,
Yeah, I mean, spoiler, but one of them is
spoiler,
not
the
into.
books have been out for like 2 years,
Yeah, one of them
3 years.
is probably.
Spoiler. Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler.
Uh, well, anyway, um, I messaged our friend Travis, and he
Yeah.
didn't respond back. I was very
Oh yeah.
disappointed. I sent
What'd you
him
message?
the same cover you didn't respond back to. I got a new book
Oh yeah.
called Working with Ditko that I'm
Ah.
excited to start reading. In fact, a few episodes from now, we're going to cover some Jimmy Olsen books, Jack Kirby, but we're going to cover one of the worst comics ever made, and we're going to do it with a smile.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy because Steve Ditko worked on it. Mark
Yeah.
Mark DeMatteis worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that George Perez did the cover,
Wow.
and it's one of the worst comics I've ever read.
Got a Grand Slam team on it
Yeah,
and
sometimes,
foul
but at
ball.
least the comic I think has a plot. Well, anyway, we get back to
Back to this
Sewer
stinkeroo.
Man. Yeah, we're
Sewer
in the
man
sewer,
in the sewer. Doing with
and
sewer man.
he's saying he couldn't get a distress signal from the Legion of Legions,
No, the Legion of Legions can't get him in the sewer
and he
because
can't
he's
find him. Well,
hanging
we've
out.
lost the Legion of Legions now. If Grant Morrison right here, if they
Yeah.
are taking a shot at DC editorial
Mm-hmm.
and the darkness of comics and ruining my favorite comic book, sort
Mm-hmm.
of. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I'm down.
He's down with it. He's okay with it, folks. Dan is okay with it.
But we've got we basically get we run back into the who are these guys again? Faculty X.
Yes, Faculty
Now,
X.
where would you put Faculty X in the pantheon of X books?
Um.
So
Uh,
is this like kind of like You know how they had like Gotham,
Mm-hmm.
and then they've had like during Civil War they had like this I forget the name of the series. It was about all the people around the city during Civil War in Marvel Universe. Do you remember the name of it? Was it Civil War Punchline?
I'm not sure, but I have an idea what you're talking about, but I don't know the
Well, it
book.
was a book about the people that were being impacted by the story, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
was that's what it was all about. I feel like Faculty X would be like the faculty that we never see at Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters.
Uh-huh. All the people that help out and make it happen.
Yeah, and they're like also they're out like drinking wine together and complaining about their students and
Mm-hmm.
whining. And
They're
I met
they're
a lot of faculty when I taught college like that didn't really like teaching college. I actually liked teaching college and
Mhm.
coaching debaters, but there was a lot of faculty that really liked just being faculty more than they liked actually like teaching people.
What if these are all X-Men type people? They're all mutants who just couldn't cut it and get out of the danger room. They weren't good enough to be
They got
to
stuck.
put on they got sidelined. They couldn't put on the actual suits and go out and do any of the stuff. So, you know, they ended up just becoming the faculty.
So are you saying that if you're a teacher, you're not good at things?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
I mean,
they
that says
possessed
everything
it.
about our podcast.
Well, yeah, but yeah, but I mean, come on, Dan.
Well, we get
You're like Skip.
we get well, I made the joke about myself and then skipped
I
it.
know.
Like
I
I
know.
have that magic power. Yeah.
Magic
So
power.
of the music in me, I'm young, now I'm wild, now I'm free. I've got the magic power. What?
Got the
So
magic in him.
I just want to say at work,
Yes.
and I'm going to out where I work
No, you
almost.
can't. You can't.
I can't, but there's a
It's a
building in
secret.
Seattle called Triumph.
Uh,
And I kept sending people songs from the band Triumph while they were in this building, and they didn't understand what I was doing.
no. Oh my gosh. It's
And I was
funny.
like, I was very sad by this. I was like, this is great humor, and we're getting literally nothing from it here.
Oh, it's a meta joke, but people just don't get it. So
No,
sad.
and people don't like comics that are meta jokes, and I get it because unless you get the meta joke, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, and that would explain this comic. Oh my gosh.
Well, we flipped the page, and he's going to a show for adult superheroes only called The Night, Knight. Oh, it's a Batman Dark Knight reference again. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
club. We've got
That's what I'm
two.
saying. You can't get on board with this part of the book, Dan. It's a crazy club he's going to, man.
No, I can't because I'm going to turn the couple pages and just see it, and
He's
it's
just
like,
gonna skip. I don't want to see this.
I mean, this is not something I want to see while I'm talking to you. This is the kind of thing like maybe I want to see somewhere else, but not here.
It's a
Well,
lot of
anyway,
action, people. It's the unseen hand, if you will.
well, we flipped the page and he's got a girl in his hand, and then she becomes his girlfriend, and then she's yelling at him again, and he's all sad again. Then we flip the page and we've got lived any good books lately. After this, we get an advertisement for the rest of the collection. Of course, we have some books we can't read anymore.
Mhm.
We do have Hellblazer. Sandman Theater was not done by said person, so we're good. It's been a couple months now, so I've actually read up on what happened. So now I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
talking about people. Yeah,
yeah.
so I won't make that mistake again.
Womp
Preacher's in
womp.
here.
Hey.
Has Garth Ennis done anything to piss people off?
Well, that no, I'm just joking. Just books.
We'll
Just
get in
books.
trouble.
Just
I need
books.
to
Just books.
read more. Yeah, well, yeah. And then we get an Hey,
Hey, what?
we get an advertisement for the Unseen Hand. No idea what
That's
this is,
that was
but
my
Andy
joke
Parks.
reference. Yeah,
It looks like Andy Parks inked it. So
yeah,
we like Andy Parks.
we do.
That's good news. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he's
Well,
got
that's
another
fun.
movie coming out.
Does he?
I gotta check the release schedule and see when the next if they're actually putting that into production. But it looked like the uh, the sequel to that movie series is off of his original book. Yeah, See You
You mean
Dad.
this?
Yeah, See You Dad, which they turned into. I'm trying to think of the actual Extraction movie series. They did Extraction 1 and 2, and then it looks like a third one is coming out.
Signed by?
Yeah, signed by Andy Parks. He's a nice dude. I really like
He's
him.
really nice. I got to do. We did when we went to Omaha a couple years ago. We did see it out as an episode. We did all this as episodes a while back, a couple years ago.
Yeah,
He was great. I got to do a panel with him and Phil Hester. They were the nicest folks I've ever met in comics.
so nice.
Well, anyway, speaking of nice, uh, we get a little version of our artist on in a boat. Looks really cool. There's some really
It,
cool art here on this page.
it looks so good.
It's like we find out that Mr. Quietly can actually draw.
Yeah,
That was mean. I don't know. That was too mean. I don't think
that
this is
harsh.
his
dude.
art style is not my art style, but man, do I like that splash page with the boat and the water
Yeah,
and the tornado.
yeah. It was pretty sweet.
And it makes me want more of that. So this is the problem. It's not like the other art's that bad. I just want more of that when I see it. It's beautiful.
He's like, give me more of this and make the whole book like that. You'll
And
get
then we
that
go
in
back
book
to-
4.
We go back to the questioner or the hoaxer or whatever.
The
it is.
hoaxer. He's hoaxing it up. He's got a jar of pickles, and wait, they're not pickles. It's goldfish.
They're still
Sorry.
looking for Flex Mentallo.
Yeah. He's got
Looking
a light
for the
bulb in his
fish.
hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're still looking for Flex.
Well,
And
we know
Flex
where
comes
Flex
in
is.
and they make him check his coat.
Yeah, get him.
And
get him
he's meeting
scantily
all
clad.
of the he's meeting all of the Legion of Superhero tryout rejects.
And they're all hanging out in the nightclub, which it's more like it's a
Sex
fantasy
dungeon?
club, sex dungeon. I was gonna say fantasy club, but
Well, we might call this a members only club.
yeah, it's definitely you have to have a card of some sort to get in. No photos are allowed, and you don't talk about what you did there.
And we've got some
Discretion
ladies.
is
We have some
highly requested.
ladies. There's some other nondescript folks. There's some twinks down here in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Look like they were left over from the sidekicks that we
The
met a
sidekicks.
couple issues ago.
Yeah,
Got some tentacles going on. We've got some massages going on.
got
We've got somebody we've got some bondage going on. There's a lot of things going on. There's like a bird in a cage with some canaries maybe around it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, our narrator gets in here. I don't know if he's even our narrator, but he's talking about everything he sees, blah, 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 blah. And he just says, Frederick Wortham was fucking right.
okay.
Sighed. Did everybody audibly hear me sigh? I really hope so. This was probably my least favorite moment of the narrative
Uh-huh.
because one, I don't want to eat. Yeah, I get the joke, bump. But like, I never want to see Frederick Wortham's name anywhere near books I'm reading. He was a fraud. His research was made up. He was a complete piece of shit. And here his name is here. And I don't know if his research had been proven as made up at this point in 96, but and I get what they are doing, what Grant Morrison's doing in the writing here. It makes sense, basically saying that the comics went so far this way that it made Frederick Wortham right.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no. No. No thanks.
If you push the comics that way, he will be right. But if you don't let them get that far, he won't be right. You don't have to let them get that far, so he doesn't have to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I have to say is the next page with the blue blonde is not okay and creepy. I don't say it's
Yeah.
not okay. It's just I don't like it.
It's creepy.
And then we meet some more folks. We see some more of
But the
these. They're
gold
kind of mobbing.
the gold thing is okay.
No, it is what it is.
It is what
Hey,
it
we get
is.
another advertisement for Cyberella by Howard Chaykin.
Hey.
I heard that guy's narratives are always spot on too.
Mm.
I like most of them, but they're not
Yeah.
always coherent. Oh boy. All right. I'm reading this Grant Morrison book, and somebody was noting that they went back and reread like his Seven Soldiers of Victory stuff and everything,
Yeah.
and that it made sense to them in multiversity. And I'm like, I don't remember if those made sense to me either.
Hmm.
Maybe I just don't have the attention span to pay attention to these books long enough for them to make sense.
Probably not.
This could be like a mental thing. Maybe I should be tested for something. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe.
Well, we're flipping through the page. We meet like a skeleton, world multiverses colliding.
Yeah.
He's back with his girlfriend. He's looking for the universe where he's happy. When the worlds collide, he's blinded. Nuclear explosions. He's throwing his drugs up again.
Oh no.
He's in vomit, and we finally find it's not the question. What was his name? With the eye on his head.
Um. Oh, is it the
It's the guy they're looking for.
yeah, the guy they're looking for, the um
You've forgotten.
I've forgotten. It's the answer? No.
The answer. I'm not the answer. I'm the question.
The problem.
Yeah.
The
Well, all right. Well, that's it. That's this book. Feedback, sir.
It's a lot. It was a lot, and it was definitely not what I was expecting when I opened it up that first time, and then also going back and rereading it again. I was like, why am I doing this to myself again? Because I had to refresh myself. And there are for the small amount of it's crazy because there's a lot of really interesting storytelling going on, and there's a lot of really cool art, and there's a lot of really cool other stuff going on. There's a lot of really cool stuff, but it's also very confusing.
Well, and then they have the back matter here that fills in some of the gaps again.
But it's also that's very angering.
Yeah. But here's a piece of it that does make some sense in relation to what we're reading.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Wallace Sage died in 1982, a broken, penniless wretch, his talent destroyed by drink and drugs, his once desirable features gnawed into a bloody ruin of tertiary syphilis and face cancer. He was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave. Man, that is just the person I want to be reading a whole story about.
Uh-huh.
And it says Flex Mentallo haunted limbo over 20 years, present by implications alone in every other superhero title published in that period. And then in 1990, a radical postmodern or dark age version of Flex appeared in the DC's Doom Patrol title. This Flex was used to challenge the ontological categories of the hypothetical DC universe, and his success led to various imitators both here and in other lands where the people are quite different. Characters with names like Stress Psycho, Mind Wrestler, and Brute Braino, Psychic Weightlifter.
Mm.
Now, I think I would read that last one. Are selling in the millions and offering eager readers the chance to face their deepest fears and insecurities on a monthly basis. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this. Do we
You're
have to
done
do
with it.
more?
Well, I mean, it's your call. If you want to be done, Dan, I force you to read the third issue. If you don't want to do the last one.
Oh, no, we're doing the last issue now because,
okay.
yeah, I was reading from the last issue, so I was already screwing up.
Oh, I see. Are you done with the day? Are you done for the day? Is that it?
I'm done with
You're
this
just
part.
done. You're done with
Yeah,
this
we're
part.
done.
You're like, I'm
We're done with this
done.
part. So
I
tell me, Greg.
yeah
We're
yeah.
done with issue 3. What do you do?
What
Who
do you
are you?
do? Who am
Yeah,
I in
yeah.
this issue? Who
No,
am
not in
I?
this issue.
Oh,
Yeah, in life.
in life?
You're Greg
In life,
Smith,
who am I?
author of great
Oh,
comic books
oh,
like
yeah. Like Absolute Zeros, Camp Launchpad, Junior Braves of the Apocalypse,
drawn by Adam
Starlight.
Hughes.
What?
That would be Absolute Zeros. New.
No,
You're gonna have a new Adam Hughes edition.
no, 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 no,
No. Oh,
no.
okay. But your
I said
lead character, drawn by Adam Hughes, would be different.
no, no.
Okay.
I say no,
They don't go to the nightclub.
no,
They don't sneak
no,
out of camp.
no, no. None of that.
Okay.
None of that. None of those.
You know, I
things.
waited 40, 50 minutes to say that.
I realize this. I do not like your jokes, your tomfoolery, Dan.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Do not like it.
Anyway, Absolute Zero's Camp Launchpad, Junior Braves of the Apocalypse, Starlight, among other fine books.
Yes.
And you can also be found at the Retro Emporium in Kent, Washington.
That is true.
Many days.
Many days.
I can be found nowhere these days. I am Dan. I am here. Eventually, Greg and I will go to a comic show again, but we
Eventually,
don't.
someday.
So maybe someday when Greg's not coughing up a lung. Probably this summer. We'll go to SummerCon again.
That was like people kept asking, "Are you coming to Emerald City?" And I was like, "I am sick. I'm not going. I'm not. I am not."
Why
going.
would we go to Emerald City anyway?
I mean, like, I just was like, no.
Did you read what was happening there?
I heard
People
a lot.
were miserable.
I heard a lot. I heard a lot. I
read
mean,
a lot.
I had a lot
People
of
were
friends
miserable.
I had a lot of friends that were tabling and that wanted to, just visit and stuff like that. And it would have been nice to see people that I haven't seen in a long time. But
But the people
no
that
way.
went is like people that paid for tickets.
yeah,
And stuff
oh yeah,
seemed very unhappy.
people that paid good money to go to what used to be a great show. And I mean, I could personally, if people that work for Read Pop listen to our podcast, that is fine because you know what?
They don't.
As a, I'm
Don't
just
worry,
gonna
they
put it
don't.
out there. I was just gonna put it out there as a comic book creator who lives in the Seattle area that hasn't been able to get a table at his local big comic book convention for the last several years. You know, that is fine. I don't care because there's a lot of great shows out there that I would rather spend a weekend at and go to and take time away from everything else that I do in my life to go there than to
Yeah.
go to that show.
I just
Where
want that show to be run better too. Like I don't
I
want
mean,
the lines. I don't want to deal with like what's going on. I don't want to deal with all the celebrities and everybody bitching about getting an autograph. It's all their posts
Yeah.
were. It's like
yeah,
they didn't handle it right. So yeah, it was disappointing. But we'll go to SummerCon again. We'll go to some
Yeah.
other shows. So
yeah. Well, I
Uh,
mean, and the
and
crazy thing is as a person who had attended that show for like 20 years prior, or not 20 years, but like 20 in the last like 15 years, and even when it was just a small like, held at the Seattle Center and stuff like that, and it was like just like doing all this stuff, and then just being like the person that would go and just be excited to go to a show, and then being a comic book creator, and it's like you see it from both sides, and it's frustrating, and to see like to go and have to stand in a line to get into another line to get into another line to get through the door to get into a line to get to a line to get to a table so you can set up your stuff. That just
yeah, sounds fun.
sounds fun. Sounds great.
Now I did read a post that talked about how wonderful Nathan Fillion was.
He's your favorite. You love that guy.
And if you're not sensing the sarcasm here, it said
I mean,
it
he
wasn't
was just
wonderful.
channeling Guy Gardner, Dan.
That's it. He was method acting.
He was method acting. He was
I
being Guy
knew it.
Gardner. He was Guy
Well-
Gardnering it up for everybody. He wanted everybody to know he really felt like he wanted to give people what they were expecting, if they were expecting Castle or anybody else.
They weren't getting that. They were getting Guy Gardner.
They're getting Guy Gardner.
All
You
of
were
the
not you,
mental abuse and relational abuse and everything.
you are not getting your captain from Firefly. You're not getting your rookie. You're not getting any of your lovable, likable characters. You're getting Guy Gardner.
You're not getting the TDK.
You're not. Yeah, yeah. Well, honestly, I've heard he's actually an alien from another
Really?
planet. From
Does
another
he have a
planet.
butterfly in his head?
And no, no, no. And part of his whole entire thing is that he's trying to take over the world,
Well,
one interaction at a time. I heard
well
this on
I
a
will say,
podcast, and I
really,
listened to the podcast
what
that
podcast?
and that it was one about like how most of the famous people out there are aliens, and we have to watch out for them.
Well, this was a good
No,
transition off of Reed Pop. Very good job.
I'm
So
just
we hate Reed Pop, and
I don't hate Reed
uh,
Pop. I find it. Well, I will tell you
how
this.
could you not?
I
They've
find it
ruined
so
my favorite
interesting.
comic show.
I find it so interesting. I can get a table at New York, Chicago, or Florida, but I can't get one at.
Omaha.
Well, no, at Repop shows,
Yeah.
but I can't get one at Seattle
Here.
here, in my local vicinity. I don't understand.
Well, you like Reed Pop. I don't. I
I
feel
didn't
like
say.
they've
I wasn't
ruined a
saying I
show
like
that
them.
I
I
used to
just.
fly to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, you used to travel when you lived on the other side of the country to come back here to go to Reed Pop shows, or not to Reed Pop shows, but to Emerald City, because Reed Pop took it
I
so
can't
long.
imagine if I'd flown out to these shows and attended them. Like I would have
Oh
been
yeah.
so frustrated.
Well, I mean, you remember like Henry and I we'd get in a hotel and like crash out,
I mean,
for
the
the
show
weekend.
is only doable if you have a table now where you can like go
Mhm.
sit behind that table
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
couple hours and then rest because it's just exhausting. And I understand like they're making people queue up to go see things now. Like, I mean, we used to cheat the system, and if we wanted to see something, we'd go sit in the room and wait, see
Yeah.
the panel before or whatever, and then go see not just with you, but I don't,
Hmm.
other friends. I
Anybody.
do have other
Yeah.
friends besides Greg. We used to do this as
It's
well.
true.
And
He
apparently
does.
now
Yes.
there's like they're force exiting people and queuing people and giving
Mhm.
priority access, and you're paying for that, and you're doing this, and it's like, I mean, it's like it's become a celebrity money grab instead of a show about comics, which that's fine if that's where you want to go, sweet. But I'd rather, if I was going to specialize in something like that, like I'd rather go to Crypticon or whatever the
Mhm.
gaming one is called, or
Yeah.
one of the smaller comic shows like we have in Tacoma, whatever they're
Oh yeah.
calling it now.
Grid
It's not,
City.
is it Grit City now?
Yeah. What's crazy is like people were always like, oh hey, it's just getting as big as San Diego as SDCC, but the crazy thing
That's
is,
not a
it's
selling
like,
point.
but no. The thing is when San Diego still is about comics. I mean, it's
Yeah.
as much as about entertainment as it is about the other half of stuff. You could still go there and do comic stuff, see
But
comic
I
stuff.
guess what I'll say though, getting that big is also not necessarily a selling point.
Oh yeah, no, it's wild.
Is they're just churning people through, and it's not
Mhm.
fun.
Right. Well, yeah, no, like the last time that you, Mike, and I went, like just the line to get into a line to get our badge, the whole entire process was just like,
Yeah. I mean, the best thing going is hanging out with like colleagues and fans and that. And yeah, I used to be able to sneak in there on a Thursday and meet a lot of creators, but I don't even think you could necessarily get that done anymore.
mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, enough of
Bonkers.
Repop, enough of Emerald City. We didn't go, so if you went to Emerald City and you enjoyed it, hey, give us some feedback. Let us know what you liked about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you have somebody on the inside and can hook Greg up with a table in his own town.
Or if not, come see me at any of the other shows that I go to
Yeah. So, all right.
when
Well,
I
let's
go to
wrap this
shows.
up. Greg
Yeah.
does stuff. Dan doesn't do stuff, but you can occasionally every other week see me on Abs at 50.
Abs at 50. Oh my God, I'm coughing and
Yeah.
snorting. What is that, Dan?
Well, that is a podcast about my journey to get abs at 50. So,
What?
yeah.
It's possible? It's doable?
When I started the podcast, I weighed 211 pounds, and now I weigh 185 pounds.
Get out of town.
Yeah. So, Paul, Jiu-Jitsu lawyer Paul, and I do that podcast every couple weeks. So you can go check that out if you want to.
Check it out.
Other than that, we're done. So I'm going to log off this thing, and we're out. Issue 3,
everybody.
Flex Mentallo. Can't wait for issue 4.
Issue 4.
Bye.